All right. Here is the template that I've created for the wall graphics. They are actual size and created in Illustrator. There are 2 artboards. You'll see I have a layer that has the project specs on it, which you can just delete and they go away. You can, turn off. But I left them on there so you can kind of see the graphics that sizes. Level 0 is the square, level 1 is the rectangle. So I'll turn those off and you'll see there are 2 artboards, level 1 mural and level 0 mural. So 2 artboards, and you can see they're both here. So here's my 2 artboards actual size. And so when you start bringing in your sketches, I encourage you to, just like we did when we were doing our tiles, is like create a layer for level 1 and, create a layer for level 2, level 0. So that you have, your different, you can turn on and off your different layers. And of course you'll have more than that, I'm sure, but just that idea of layers and kind of adjusting those layers. And you can see our level 0 is not an exact perfect square. It's very close. It's 80, what is it? It's 82.66 wide by 84. So it's very close to a perfect square. But I did it that size because I wanted it to be exactly 1/3 of the wall graphic, which had a very specific width it had to be to fit where she wanted it to fit. So it didn't make it a perfect square. It made it very close because I couldn't make my wall longer. So I made it according to fit 3. So it would have like more of an equal measurement going into the rectangle. That's kind of what I wanted. So that's why it's just slightly off from being a perfect square. So once you have your, my menus over here. Once you have your design, I'm going to go on to level 0. And I'm going to take my rectangular grid tool, and this is where I can start by putting in my measurements. You know what, I got to put this in because I keep forgetting what it is. It's 82.66. Okay, so I go here and I'm going to put in my size 82.66 by height of 84, and then I can decide, how many dividers I want to have. Maybe try 6. Say okay. Hide this. Oops. And there it is. And then I'm gonna, obviously, like we've done with the other things, I'm gonna align it to my artboard. And so you can decide, what kind of grid do you want to start off with, but start off with creating a grid. I'm going to give mine just a black line so I can see it. Other thing, obviously I can use this tool or I can use another, and deciding like just having this in, so I can decide if I want to have this be a guideline. So let's say I do want this. Again, I'm not saying this is what you need to do. I just chose randomly a direction to go with. Depending on your design, you're going to choose what works for your design. But then I can also go, just like what we've done in the past, and go guides, make guides, and turn this into guides. So that as I'm working I can think about that. And then I'm probably going to want to match this down here on my larger, so that, you know, they translate. So whatever you're doing at the top, you might want to come down here. And again, I'm going to turn this on so I can see. I'm going to go down to level 1, switch to level 1. And this time my height is going to change to 248.
Will the template be up later today?
It's already there.
Okay.
Just refresh. If you don't see it, refresh. It's called TEC Wall Mural Template. So I'm going to do 6 times 3 for my vertical dividers, since I have 3 times this. So, right. I think that should work. Say okay. Align it to my artboard. There it is. Go to view, guides, make guides. Okay, so there, now I have, you know, a grid to start working within. And, you know, if there's a point where you're like, this grid isn't working as I'm getting into it, I want to edit it, you can always edit it. So that's totally workable. I do think it's helpful to have a grid, and I probably will even add in for myself. I'm going to go back to this. So you can see I've added these guidelines into my project specs showing the divide. Now I can see how that's landing, not quite on my grid down here. So I was hoping it would. So I'm just thinking that isn't lining up quite the way I want it, because I wanted this grid to match. 6, 7. Oh, I did 6 times 3, but we got to do, I can't do 6 times 3. I have to add 2 more in, 6, 7. So I have to do 18, 19, 20. Actually, so this grid down here is not correct because it's not lining up. So I need to change that. And let's go to guides. Not guides. I'm gonna grab these and delete. Because we're thinking, I was, you know, when we're designing grids, we have to think of the spaces. If I want 7 spaces, I say 6. So it's not 18, it would be 1. I think it would be 20. So this is where I get kind of screwed up with the math of it. Oops, what did I do wrong? Is it 124? 4? No, wrong measurements. I gotta pull my measurements in. 248, see? 248, 84, 20. Let's see if that matches. Yes, that's it. Okay. So what I did is, though, this was, I had asked for 6, it gave me 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Coming down here, what I initially did is I just said, oh, well, then I'm going to times 3, 6 times 3. That didn't give me the right measurement because I wanted the grid to match up to my grid up here. So what I had to do is think 6 times 3, which is 18, plus 2, 1, 2 for each of the squares I'm adding, because it's just 1 less than the full amount. So that's why I went to 20. So there we go. Now I have the grid I want. I'm going to go to view, guides, make guides. Oops, I didn't have it selected. Come on. View, guides. Oh, there already is guides. Okay, I already did it. Okay, so there's my guides. And now when I look at it with the specs, you can see it's lining up. So that's what you want to do. You want to have these two grids work together so that you have translation of parts when you're adding parts. So that's how I would set up my template to get started. Again, you can turn off this project specs or delete it. You don't need that. Create your own layers for each of your artboards and then build on, continue building from there.